difference between Shaklee and other product lines are, and some of us don't. I think probably the biggest difference that I would share is the manufacturing. And I don't know if you were privy to some of the Dr. Oz testing that was done on supplements. Did anybody see any of what he did about a year ago? Well, he went around his neighborhood to the health food stores and online to health food stores and ordered multiple vitamins. And then he tested them. And each one of them was contaminated. Every single one was contaminated. And the largest group was contaminated with Cipro. The second largest group was contaminated with blood pressure medicine. But all of them were contaminated.
And these were from a health food store?
And in his neighborhood where his studio is, as well as online. And he, on the show, he called the different companies. And he wouldn't reveal the names of the companies. He didn't feel like that was right. But he did reveal their response. And their response was they took no blame. They took no responsibility. And so he went on to explain how and why this happens. And it happens because we assume, because it has a label on it that it says Nature Aid or whatever brand. I really don't spend much time looking at other brands, so I don't even know the names. But we assume that that's a company that's made a supplement, you know, in their own manufacturing plant and designed their own supplement themselves. And those assumptions are made, but that's not the way it goes. What really happens is they provide a label to the manufacturing companies. And they say, I want you to put in this much vitamin B, and I want this much 6 and B12, and I want this and this, and here's my label, and stick it on a brown bottle and put a white cap, and that's how it's done. And I brought some articles of some of the manufacturing problems that have been discovered in the last couple of years. One of them I didn't bring, and I don't know if you heard this before from me, because I have talked about this before, is the contamination of omega-3s. Yeah. Some of you were at that. There still is a lawsuit, a class action suit out of California on 9 companies that they tested their omega-3s. They all came from the same plant in Houston. They're all the same omega-3, and they were all contaminated. Those names are public, but I don't remember them all. I didn't bring that list. I know Nature Aid was one of them. That's why I used that before. And I know GNC was one, but I don't remember the other 7. But they're all the brands that you see on the shelves at Whole Foods. So that just because it's at Whole Foods doesn't necessarily mean diddly squat. This is a handout I'll give. This is a frightening story about 200 people in 2008 that were poisoned by selenium and total body mega formula, and those are products that are sold in chiropractors' offices. That's the chiropractors often will sell products in their office, and that's a typical line for chiropractors, sold to chiropractors. And it contained 40,000 micrograms of selenium when the maximum should be 200. And the effects that had on these 200 people in the lawsuit was that they lost their hair, they lost their fingernails and toenails. Oh, hi. Come in. The Shaklee difference. And I was explaining that there's a lot of differences. This particular conversation is about manufacturing differences and how we assume that if you buy something with a label on it that that's actually where it's manufactured, when in fact it's not. They've just provided a label to the manufacturing companies. And I just was going into an article about the selenium overdose that 200 people were involved in a lawsuit about in 2008, and where the company was Total Body Mega Formula and Total Body Formula, which is sold in chiropractic offices. You assume if you bought something from a chiropractor that you might be getting something natural and good for you because he's a chiropractor after all. And these assumptions are just assumptions. But what it did to this group is the overdose of selenium, they lost their fingernails and toenails, and they never grew back properly again. So they grow and fall off and grow and fall off. So that must be how hard it is to get selenium out of your body. They lost their hair and they lost their memory.
Did it come back?
Short-term, long-term?
Well, this particular gentleman's name is John Adams, and he said he's still weak on his left side. He's ruined his fingernails and toenails, and he still struggles with memory problems in 2012, and so that's 4 years later. So that's the kind of risk you take when you don't know what you're getting, and that's what makes Shaklee so different, because you do know what you're getting, and they do their own manufacturing. And so I also brought a letter that I got from Shaklee from the Shaklee Corporation on the Shaklee difference. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read part of what I think is very important, and it's in the second. Okay, so it's, over the years, we have conducted numerous clinical studies on our products, many of which have appeared in prestigious scientific journals, such as the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, American Journal of Cardiology, Journal of the American Medical Association, and Journal of the American College of Nutrition. Indeed, a number of studies were conducted in association with major universities, such as Harvard, Stanford, and the University of Texas, as well as NASA. The process of having a clinical study published in one of these journals is extremely rigorous. I think that's the important line there, because that's why nobody's doing it, because it is extremely expensive and it's extremely rigorous. The research papers is peer-reviewed by experts who judge it for its scientific worthiness first, and then once the peer review process has been completed, the study is then accepted for publication. And Shaklee says in the next paragraph, while any two nutritional supplements may resemble one another in the sense that they utilize the proper nutrients in their respective formulations, the ingredients used may still differ in type and quality as markedly as second-hand car does from a new Mercedes. Oftentimes, lower-priced products are usually synonymous with inexpensive or even inferior raw materials. Moreover, with the consumer in mind, there remains questions related to issues such as ingredient safety, product testing, and so on. Shaklee is among the very few manufacturers who have its own manufacturing facility and who regularly test their products for safety and efficacy with the consumer in mind. I won't read everything that they wrote, but I thought that was the most important part of it, is that they do clinical studies. They don't just sell product. They make sure that the product works and that it is right for everybody and safe for everybody and safe for the planet. So the other thing I thought was important was there's so much out there about how soy is not a good product for us, and there's so many people that believe that, but they believe it across the board. All soy is that way, and Shaklee has a special way, and Dr. Shaklee actually was the one that discovered this, that when looking at the Chinese culture, they only cook their soy just before they eat it. They don't, like, so say it's tofu. So they have tofu's like a soy curd. So if they're going to use tofu, they cook it and it's on the plate and they eat it right away, because there's a change that happens in soy from heat. Well, in realizing that, Dr. Shaklee found a way to extract the soy in a cold water method so that it would never be heated and then set in a can and then become what actually had been proven in that time through birds. And so I can't really say, if I don't know much about the human testing, because Dr. Shaklee actually did this with birds, is it slowed down their thyroid function, cooked soy. So that's why it became so important to him to make sure that soy was never heated, because of its effect to slow down our thyroid. So that would be things also that you're thinking about in that you eat. So you're talking edamame beans, right? We all think that's a great snack. Just make sure that if you're going to eat edamame beans, you cook them at a low temperature and you eat them immediately. They don't just sit in a bowl to snack on at a party or something. I actually ended up, after doing some more of the soy research, realizing that we don't treat soy like the Chinese. Chinese would never do that. They don't. The Chinese people, for one thing, don't make food and eat leftovers. They throw away. They eat it or they throw it away. They don't put it in the refrigerator like us Americans for leftovers. And I didn't know that. But a lot of the reason is because they eat so much soy. They eat so much edamame and tofu, and they use soy as a quality protein, which it can be if used right. And it talks about Shaklee's extraction technique and the fact that they use non-GMO soy, of course. By now we should assume that would be the case. And so you probably know people that are vegetarians and they eat those veggie burgers and stuff like that. Bad stuff. Yeah. Bad stuff. I have a niece that does that.
And it's bad because it's GMO and
it's been cooked. It's been cooked once, and now it's been in the refrigerator, and then it's cooked again, and then that's when it's going to have that effect to slow down your thyroid. So, I mean, I guess the Shaklee difference again is that they don't just put something in their products because everybody else is and getting away with it. If it's not right, they don't use it. And we've shared this one experience that Shaklee had with Panax ginseng, and this was in 1998 or something. And they have a product called Core Energy that they use Panax ginseng in, and Shaklee tests all their raw product when it comes into their manufacturing to make sure it's not contaminated with anything, pesticides, heavy metals, anything, right? Well, they tested this Panax ginseng when it came in, and it had a fungicide on it. Well, in fact, they found out that it was within the limits of safe fungicide, but it wasn't safe enough for Shaklee, even though it was considered by the FDA a safe level of fungicide. They still rejected the Panax ginseng, and we didn't have that product for years until they could get a clean Panax ginseng. Well, every other company that used Panax ginseng, they could only get that same exact supply. There weren't any, it was a flood in China. So there wasn't any Panax ginseng that wasn't contaminated with this fungus. So all these other companies were still using Panax ginseng, and it was on the shelves for years until finally Shaklee could get a safe product, and now we have Core Energy back. And I got to tell you, I love that stuff. I didn't have it for years, and I wasn't using it, and I'd kind of forgotten, and I just got it back into my regular order, and I love that stuff. It really does give me pure energy. It's called Core Energy. Yeah. And, I love our energy chews as well, but I think I've decided I like Core Energy better than the energy chews. It has a longer lasting energy, whereas the energy chews they're quick, they're fast, and effective, but they're not long lasting. In the Core Energy, I can tell I've got this energy going for about 4 hours.
And it's a tablet.
It's a capsule, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it smells like ginseng too, which I kind of like that smell. I mean, I could always mix it into tea. So I have some handouts that I'll just give you at the end. I don't think that they're things I need to read right now, but it will give you, what I want you to walk away with is go ahead and read these. Go ahead and understand these, and then if you're tempted to be standing in front of a shelf or ordering something online, really think to yourself, do I want to do that, or do I want to stick with a company that I know is going to be safe, has never had a recall in 56 years, has never sold a product that had to be recalled, and has rejected raw material so that they wouldn't be selling a product that was contaminated. And so that's what I want you to walk away with, is to understand that you have the ability to buy a product that's safe. And any questions? Because there's probably, there's a lot about the Shaklee difference that I didn't explain. But if anybody had a particular question, either Ellen and I could certainly answer it, or Annie.
No, but I just wanted to let you know, I started this children program. And a friend of mine is a scientist, and he was really worried because I dropped weight really fast, and then it's balanced out now. but he was really concerned. So I gave him all the information. He went off and did a bunch of research and called me up, and he goes, "It's near perfect."
Oh, great.
Just went, "Don't worry about it. It's obviously a good thing."
Wow.
So I was like, well, that was confirming. I was just hoping for him to confirm it, so other people that we know.
Right. And you might take one